So, hi everyone, welcome to HEOS Talks, talks that focus on helping each other succeed. I'm Dr. Christelle Chacar, and in this episode of HEOS Talks, we're going to meet an inspirational leader and a true catalyst of careers who has changed lives by taking a chance on people. It should be an exciting one. Today, we have the privilege of sitting down with Dr. Paul Mastoridis, a remarkable individual and a true catalyst of careers. Our guest has not only achieved great success in his own endeavors, but has also dedicated himself to changing the lives of others by providing them with their first career opportunities and dedicating himself to nurturing their success. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Mastoridis, an inspirational leader who has a passion for shaping lives and who exemplifies the mission of HEOS, helping each other succeed. Hi, Paul. Welcome to HEOS Talks.
Thank you, Christelle. It's great to be here, and Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New
I'm
Year.
excited to be here and have this nice conversation with you.
Paul, first, thank you for being with us. And second, why don't we start with sharing with the audience just a little bit about you, yourself, your background,
Right.
your career journey, and what inspired you to become a catalyst for others' careers?
Thank you. I came to the United States in 1969. I was 4 years old. I came from Greece, and I've been living here all my life. I grew up in the restaurant business. My father had a restaurant. And I think that's probably the first time you get an interaction with so many people of different shapes and colors and sizes and attitudes and whatnot, and of course around food. And so I learned skills that they don't teach you at college, right? You learn different kinds of skills, whether it's negotiation with the tomato guys that come in, the salespeople, the different distributors, and then all the people that come to eat at your establishment. And of course, I worked my way from the back when I was really young, cleaning the baked potatoes. You clean them, and then I wrapped them in foil and put them in the oven. I was 8 years old doing that. And then worked my way up to making the food and then delivering the food. And then when I got into high school, I used to hire and sometimes fire people and run it while my parents were on vacation. And then my father said, "Paul, do you want the restaurant or do you want to go to college?" And I'm like, when you work in the restaurant business, my dream was to eat and have someone serve me on a weekend because that never happened when you have a restaurant. So I said, "Dad, I'm going to go to college." So he says, "Okay, go to college. I will help you in college, and then when you're done, I will retire and go back to Greece." And that's exactly what happened. My dad put me through school. I did my medical microbiology in University of Wisconsin-Madison. We grew up in Wisconsin. And then I went to Minnesota, University of Wisconsin, University of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Got my pharmacy degree and then my doctorate in pharmacy. And I also did a fellowship in immunology and transplantation, which was pretty cool. And it was my first time I was involved with the pharmaceutical industry because we did phase 1 clinical studies, and I was responsible for injecting some of these drugs in the kidneys of transplant patients. So it was pretty exciting and cool. And then when I got out, I worked 3 years in a hospital because I wanted to understand patients. I wanted to understand how it was to treat the patients. But my dream was to go to the pharmaceutical industry. And after 3 years, I joined the industry, and I've been with the pharmaceutical industry for about 30 years now, if you can believe that.
Wow.
I look younger than I am,
That's always a good
but
thing.
yeah, and again, I started out in pharmacokinetic studies, right, in development, doing phase 1 and phase 2
Mhm.
clinical trials, and then the company was expanding and growing into global medical affairs, which we didn't have before. And the vice president had asked me, "Paul, do you want to come on board and help us grow the medical affairs department?" And my first year doing that, I was a MSL, medical science liaison. And as we hired more and more people, they promoted me to director and then national director. And I had over 15 MSLs under me and hired a lot of people. And I guess, you talk about inspiration. I think you have to help others, right? You have to part of that is somebody in your life has helped you,
Yes.
and I think you need to return that favor as well and help somebody. And it's not just a guess or just pick anyone, right? Who you're gonna help. I mean, you want to evaluate that person. You want to make sure they're a good fit for you. They're a good fit for the organization. And then part of that is having a good gut feeling to say, you know what, that's the guy, that's the person that I want to hire.
That's
And
great.
so, yeah, in all these things, we've hired a lot of people. What's nice is I've seen these people who started out as MSLs and worked their way up to directors and senior directors and vice presidents and CEOs and chief medical officers, and it's just great to see that.
I guess it's so fulfilling to see, and it's so rewarding to see all of your mentees become mentors and leaders themselves. I can
Yes.
imagine. It's always nice to give back, and I'm sure a lot of your mentees have given back and are giving back every day. Do you recall maybe a specific moment or individual that motivated you to start giving people their first career? It's always hard to get that first chance. You know, a lot of jobs ask you for previous experience.
I think first for somebody to like you and to pick you, you have to be also likable,
Yes.
right? You have to have care, you have to have passion, you have to have a vision, you have to have motivation, you have to have ideas, right? You yourself have to have that, and then when people see that, they say, "Wow, I like this guy. I want to help this guy." And so for me, it was during my undergrad where my professor saw some qualities in me, and we never really talked about what qualities he saw, but he saw these qualities, and he says, I want to give you an opportunity. I want to give you that chance. And he took me under his wing because when you have parents that were not educated, didn't know the system, had to learn English, had to learn the laws, uh, built a restaurant and employed 8 people. I mean, it's not an easy task to do. Especially, my dad was an orphan for 18 years during the war. My mother's village got burned by the Germans. It wasn't a good story. So for them, coming over here to America was the American dream. But for me, I had to learn everything myself. I mean, I didn't even know what a Boy Scout was. And I was in school, and all these kids were wearing Boy Scout uniforms, right? And oh, what is that? So you have to be curious, right? You have to ask questions. You have to do things more on your own because you don't have parents that are going to know all these things to do it for you. So I think that also helped me be who I am. But somebody gave me that opportunity, and I'll never forget it. You never forget your first time, and you say to yourself, um, I want to give that opportunity to people as well. And so there are times that people, even on LinkedIn, they want to be friends with me. I don't even know them.
Yes.
And I see, oh, they're MSL, they just graduated, they're up and coming. I like them. I accept them. I say, yeah, if you have any questions, call me. If there's anything I can do to help you, let me know. Not everyone is like that, most, but I happen to be that way. I think we need to help people. I think people who you help will help others. And it's part of like, see, do to others as you would want them to do to you,
Of course.
right?
Yeah.
And so we cannot forget some of these core values as human beings that we have to do some helping.
Yeah.
We can be good leaders, and there's a way to be a good leader, or we can be bad leaders, right?
Of
You
course.
can you can rule by a fist, or you can rule by example. And I like to lead by example.
Yes, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And I guess over the years, obviously, we all have challenges and hurdles, especially in the corporate world. Sometimes, like you said, you lose track of the mission and you're just taken by the daily, life and obstacles and the routine of the job. How do you keep persevere and keep nurturing that potential and develop that talent? Once you have someone and you've given them that chance, and let's say they're doing amazing, it's just the maintenance, the long-term thing that sometimes needs more, dedication, time. And I guess you get a lot of these from your parents, right? Their story. You say it wasn't a good story, but I think it's an amazing story, because this is what has shaped your family and yourself. And we take a lot from our past without sometimes knowing that we're applying a lot of these values into
Right.
our job and personal lives too. So, how do you go about nurturing and developing that talent long term?
I think it's it's very important when you hire somebody, you hire them to succeed. Your job is to make sure they succeed. Don't be jealous if they're better than you, if they're smarter than you, if they excel as you. Be proud, because these are the people you're working with, right? Um, uh, your team is your strength, and I always hired people based on diversity. You know, they're I'm a PharmD, and many times I get into this, trying to find a job, and a lot of the companies out there say, "Oh, we need an MD for this role." But I'll give you an example. When I was hiring MSLs, I didn't hire just PharmDs or PhDs or MDs. I hired all three of those, and I'll tell you why. We would do journal clubs, monthly journal clubs, and we would all read the same paper. And I would say, okay, what did we get out of this paper? Because our goal was to get the strengths out of the paper so we can help our products, right? We can help physicians better understand our products. So we would read the article, and the MD would say, well, the diagnosis of this patient and the clinical aspects of this patient is this. And the PhD, you would say yes, but the molecular aspect of what they did and this, it was this. And then the PharmD goes, yeah, the half life and the volume of distribution and the kinetics, And so here we are. We all read the same paper, but we all got different things out of it,
Oh,
right? And I said, wow, this was an eye opening for me. I said, we need all the D's, right? Is we need D's because there's strength in diversity.
yes.
And so that was always my motto, is to be able to do that. So once you hire somebody, I remember as an MSL, when you interview, you get what, a half hour, an hour to really interview, and then you like pick somebody for years that are going to be working with you. I mean, it's not an easy task. So I said, okay, if you're going to be an MSL, you have to be in front of doctors, and if you're in front of doctors, they're going to ask you questions. So I said, come to an interview, and you're going to take 15 minutes of the interview, and you're going to tell me the drug of the choice, any drug you want, and you're going to tell me about this drug. And then I'm going to ask you questions on it. So that was my opportunity to see them. Now, I didn't pick the drug, because that's not fair. If you pick the
Yeah.
drug, they're not ready, they're not prepared, right? You wanted them to be prepared. So they picked a drug that they knew, and then they started talking to me.
Hmm.
And I started to see how they engage, how they work the audience, knowing your audience, who's your audience. Many times when I was in MSL, I didn't know these people because they had a question and they asked for an MSL, and I'm going to them and I'm like, sometimes you have to break the ice. What are you going to break the ice with? So if I'd go to the room, I'd see a picture of Santorini. I'm like, oh, hey, I'm Greek. I've been to Santorini. Maybe I talk to them about Santorini first. We break the ice, and then we can get on to business, because I like to do that, get to know people a little bit better. And there was this one guy that was into sports, and I knew nothing about sports. I mean, if you ask me who's playing, I have no idea. But so I back then the internet was not as great, so I looked at the newspaper, and it was USA Today, and I looked at the sports section, and they fired some guy in New York, right? It was some coach, big news. And I went in there and I said, so Dr. So and so, what do you think about them firing that guy? And he lit up, and for the next 10 minutes, that's all he talked about. Like he thought I knew everything about this,
Yeah.
but I just threw that out, and he just went. He goes, oh wow, that's great. So we kind of bonded. And then we went into the discussion, and we had a good talk. So I think for me, like I said, I lead by example. I was an MSL myself. I was head of medical affairs. I hired people, but I also, the people that I hire, I want them to succeed. And if they succeed, I succeed, right? And
Yes.
so if there's times where they need weakness, that they have weaknesses and strengths like we all do, let's focus on those weaknesses and make them stronger, and let's praise the strengths, because the team is made up of many people, and you have to know who are your strengths, where are your weaknesses, and help each other. And so I think that's part of the inspiration, that I have, is to pick the right people. How do you pick those right people? I gave some examples how we pick them.
Yeah.
And then how do you help them understand where they're coming from? Because, when you pick someone, they've never been in the pharmaceutical industry, right? This is their first time. They might be out of school. They're looking for a break. Someone's got to open the door for them. And, it was, I would try to do that. But then when somebody hires you, you almost feel like, well, I better really do really good, because
Yeah.
he has faith in me, right? I better not disappoint him.
Yeah.
And then there's that aspect too, that psychology from the other side. Like, yeah, you hired me. I'm going to give you my 100%. I'm going to do whatever I can, and try to do it. So I think it works both ways from that aspect.
That's great. I guess I wanted to ask you to give some advice to both the younger generation of professionals that want to expand their careers, and also to leaders who want to make a positive impact like yourself.
So to those people who are coming in and wanting a break, they want somebody to hire them, I would say, don't give up. If you have to knock on 50 doors, knock on 50 doors. Don't give up, number one. Number two, I tell my children this: network. Networking is the most important aspect you can do, is being able to network
Mhm.
and get to know people, whether it's at conferences, whether it's at meetings, or whatever. Try to network and get to know these people, because that's how they're going to be able to help you, and you're going to help them. So for the new people, reach out to people on LinkedIn, network as well as you can. And, well, I'm going to be honest with you. In this world, it's who you know, who you network with, who because people want to feel that somebody knows you to vouch for you, right? Because it's a huge risk. That's how people are. There's not a whole lot of people that'll just take you as risk free, right? Just, oh yeah, come on board, and we'll take you. No, because there's a lot of factors involved. Please, the newbies out there, network, get to know people. Number one. Number two, for those who are leaders, right? Lead by example, have compassion, challenge people to do their best. Um, of course, care about the people, excel at what you do, be a team player, and give people an opportunity. Give them an opportunity. And when you get a little older and you're at a leader, you don't become a leader day one, but you get a little older, they make you a leader. Um, you have some experience behind you.
Yeah.
So those people who are leaders can gauge. They've got a half hour, 1 hour. They can gauge. They can kind of get that feeling to hire them. But then you can also say, listen, I'm hiring you, and I'm expecting great things from you, right? But then it's your job to not throw them under the bus.
Yes.
It's your job to help them, to encourage them, and give them credit. Don't take the credit where you didn't do anything, right? Give them credit. It wasn't me, Mr. President. It was her, right? It was him. Give them credit. There's so many people like to take credit nowadays. And to me, that's a little bit insecure. Give credit where credit is due, and people will remember that. They say, this guy's honest, this person is fair. So I think those are
Yes.
hopefully the kind of advices we can
Yes.
give
Thank you.
to people and take home.
That's really amazing because you touch on very, very important points, and I think a lot of us can relate in our jobs, in our personal lives. Like taking credit, understanding, networking, managing different diverse teams, is not an easy task. So it's always important to remember those. Thank you so much. You did really summarize in the last answer, actually, a lot of the things we wanted to recap. I can't thank you enough. This has been an amazing conversation. Thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you, Christelle. It's my pleasure. Thank you all.
Thank you. And to our audience, thank you for joining us on this insightful conversation with a leader who's not just successful, but is making a profound impact on the lives of many. Until next time, let's all get inspired to be more, do more, and live more.